C. Official program accountability. The project records. The project receipt shall maintain the project records sufficient to ensure compliance with the project official requirements. The project demonstrating the project accomplishment shall be prepared with all required reports. Recipients responsible for the determination of that all disbursement comply with the applicable regulation or statutes of the policy, procedure, program requirements, regardless of the payment method assigned for the project awarded. Should such records shall include the minimum project management and the documentation, personnel, equipment, materials, and other resources of the project. The extent of the service activities shall be completed by the schedule to agree to the project objectives and other expected outcomes as obtained. Use of official funding, control funding of the accounting procedures to ensure the proper disbursement of the accounting of the federal state funds. Official business records and the documentation as in all revenues received of the project, amendments of the project. Official other businesses and documents of all revenues received of the project, any amendments of the project, all in disbursement must be supported adequate documentation, including not limited to the invoices, receipts, payrolls, contracts, times, and attendance records, and paid checks. There's records of the facility of the effective audit bank statements, such as support of salaries, wages, and standard regarding the distribution. In addition, with the standards payroll documentation, see other issues, personal cost of time distribution. In the section, access such records may be avoidable duly authorized representatives of the U.S. government agencies, Florida Department of Education, Department of Financial Services, Audited General, State of Florida, the program, and official auditing monitoring. The retention and access records related to the retention access program or grant records of determination of the federal, state law, rules, regulation, federal regulations. 34 CFR 80.42 addresses the retention and access to the requirements of the records. Federal regulations 34 CFR 80.42 A1 applies to all financial project problematic records and supporting documentation, statistical records, other records of the grants and grantees and sub-grantees that are one, required to maintain the terms of the part of the program in relation to the grant agreement. Others responsible considering the pertinent program regulations of the grant agreement. The Florida General Records of the GS1 SL state local agency available to the DLIS DOS. DLIS Department of State State of Florida US /BARM General Record Schedules GCS S1 PDF includes the following requirements and to the grant files and recipients. The records, the series of documentation administrative of the grant program, including the application review, the process expenditure of the grant for the entity of the project public agency. The files may include, not limited to, the grant application, notification, application of the award, denial of the grant, and funds and agreements. The grant status narrative, financial reports, submitted receipts of the agency supported documentation, grant cycle, and the completion has not occurred only on the report requirements for the state satisfied, and final payments that have been received in the grant for the grant cycle. In the length of the retention of these records of the first 5 years of completion of the project provided by the applicable audits have been released as access to the records of the grantee, sub-grantee, and expiration of the right of the access is found in 34 CFR 8042 E12, which states access to the records of the grant and sub-grants awarded to the agencies of the Comptroller General of the United States or any other authorized representative have been access to the pertinent books, documentation, papers, and other records of the grantees and sub-grantees pertinent to the grant in order to make the audits and examinations, expertise, and transcripts. Expiration of the right of access. The right of access section that must not be limited to or required with the retention period shall last as long as the records retained. The project recipient shall prepare to submit all required to the department in a timely, accurately manner in accordance with the instruction approved of the project award of law distribution statement. Federal funds must be responsible, necessary, allowable, legal under all financial problematic requirements of the operation of the program. All recipients, sub-recipients of the project shall be maintained legible copies of all invoices, receipts, paychecks, bank statements, timesheets, if applicable, and any other documentation that will set forth in the details sufficient for the proper pre-audit, post-audit review. Financial reports. All financial reports expenditures must be consistent with the approved project's performance deliverables and comply with the Department of the Financial Services reference guide for the state expenditures available at My Florida CFO /ADA directory, a reference guide for the state expenditure PDF. Funding methods, non-federal funding, federal funded projects approved for each of the official year of the project award notification designation. How funds of the received transmitted to the advance payment quarterly is in advance payment Q, quarterly advance public needs S, reimbursement of the performance D, P, and other D. Final project of disbursement of the reports of the Department of Education 39.9, which must be submitted to data specified in the project awarded for the notification complete details in accordance with the approved project budget. The recipient must be attached with the final Department of Education 39.9 399 reported that the refund of any funds received for the not disbursed. The extension of the state-funded project must be based on the need of the project conduct specific activities as specified at approved project. All extensions of the must be approved by the Department of the Commissioner of Financial Operations or his or her designee. The federal cash advance projects are the projects funded by the cash advance allowance of the receipt of the request of the cash for the need for the paying the outstanding obligation cash advances. The cash advance report of this distribution system. The card's expenditure for the project funded for the federal cash advance should be reported using the card's expenditure should be reported as they occur, and the 20th of each of the month of the card shall be returned will be turned off. The cards will be turned off on 11/59 on the 20th of each of the month. Adjustment updates in the statewide accordance with the statement of the each final project disbursement of the Department of Education 3949 399 499 599 must be submitted by the state specified by the project award notification complete detail in accordance with the approved project. Indirect costs and charges must be reported the official year in which they are incurred. The payment type of the C project recipients do not have the authority to report disbursements of until the project award notification is received. All reports and reimbursement checks shall be contained with the Department approved of the project. Financial project disbursement of the Department of Education 399 499 599 must have original signatures. Must be sent to the Department of Education Bureau of the Comptroller 914 Turlington Building 325 West Gainey Street, Tallahassee, Florida 32399 400 0400 in accordance with the federal regulation and outlined by the Cash Management Improvement Act CMIA. Should be requested no more than 3 business days by the anticipated disbursement. The federal cash advance reconciliation. The cash advance reporting the disbursement reconciliation Department of Education 0220 Department of Education 026 supporting the instruction should sent by the agencies of receiving the federal cash advance for the ending of the official year. The form using the cards to the agency of the cash on the hand at Department of Education 026 should be completed and signed and returned to the Department of Education Comptroller office no later than Department December 1st of each year. Section C, advance payment statement of the grants upon receipt of the project notification upon the 25% may be advanced of the first payment of the period to receive the subsequent payments of at least 90% of the amount of the advance reported to the Department of Education 399 supported by the appropriated documents including not limited to the copy of invoice timesheets recipients paid checks or bank statements. Each report shall also include the appropriate Department of Education 300 and 301 with the reports shall be not submitted quarterly basis of the payment at the time of the Q, the quarterly advance to the public entity, the quarterly advance non-federal funding to the state agency, local educational agency made in accordance with the General Appropriation Act, the Alden Disbursement Project documentation reported to the Department of Education 399 in accordance with the approved project. The recipient must be the detailed documentation supporting all requests for the achievement advance disbursement received. The recipient must be attached with the final Department of Education 399 reported to the fund of the check for any of the funds received and disbursed on the other type will be C. The funding method other than the may be used in each specific project discretion. Other Commissioner Grant Management Bureau of the Comptroller terms of payment described in Section 12 terms of special condition of the project award and notification. Department of Education 200. The project number will include the payment code D. The reimbursement performance payments will be not made upon submission in advance along with the appropriate reporting. The Department of Education 399, 499, 599 is supported by the appropriate documentation including not limited to the copies, invoice timesheets, receipts and paychecks and bank statements and such as plus documentation completion with the performance-based deliverables and state of the approved project. Each report shall include an appropriate Department of Education 300 and 301 report shall be submitted monthly and the payment is the type of the P, working capital advances. Consistent with 34 CFR, the Department provides 8021. Department provides a certain private nonprofit organization, also known as community-based organizations or faith-based program-based organizations, a payment option known as the work capital advance procedure conditions and such advances described below. The procedures, the current certain subgrants, the subcritical below is authorized to receive and work capital advances for the projected payrolls as follows: the amount of the projected payrolls advanced for the lump sum initial 2 months of the project period based on the approval of the project-based budget on the salaries and benefits. At the end of the first month's actual benefits, the documentation subgrant and the submitted reimbursement request to request the reimbursement of salaries benefits in the first month that has been used in advance of the third month's working capital advances. The advances will be not loaded and made the last month of the project period. At the end of the project period, the advances actual expenditures reconciled. All expenditures reimbursed and include according to department procedures. Payment period will monthly for all and total types of expenditure, with the exception of the first and working capital advances, which will be more than for a 2-month period. Any failure in any adhere monthly schedule is any situation with the subgrantee fails to expand advances in a timely manner may be result in the Department of Education from returning the subgrant to the reimbursement only by the method payment. The criteria to determine eligibility for the working capital advances in order to qualify for the participation in the working capital advances payment of the subgrant may be submitted an application for the current year funding of the request of the working capital advance payment of the option. The Department of Education 960 participation program unauthorized by the Department of Education grant program for the least of one fiscal year with no sufficient disallowed costs submitted to current financial statements, of which is the application provided evidence of line of credit of the project to payroll the consists of 2 months or at performance bonded the equivalent amount that approved the working capital of the Department of Education comptroller to verify the subgrants and its compliance with the required official reporting the Bureau of the Contracts, Grants, and Procurement and Management Services verify the subgrants leaded by the Department of Education. Mandatory granting fiscal year training is not considered by the high-risk grantee based on the risk assessment of the grant program is the subject to ongoing audited investigation. Improvement appropriate for the Department of Education program verifies any serving the eligible population cost of the annual allowable and any regarded method meeting established performance expectations. The Department of Education final disbursement of the reports of the non-governmental receipts. Project recipients shall be one legible copy of the appropriate project disbursement report. The Department of Education 399, 499, 599 bearing original signature. Agency Financial Office is authorized by the representative to the Department by the 20th of each month of the following month of disbursement reimbursement projects required for the performance-based project. The Department of Education 399 shall be for the project disbursement reporting all federal and state projects except for the federal stating reporting requirements necessities that use the special purposes form of the collective information unique to the program. The Department of Education 499 shall be used in the project disbursement report of all adult education programs. The Department of Education 599 shall be for project disbursement result reporting the adult youth migrant program. Reports should not reflect multiple months of disbursement. All reports corresponding shall include the Department of Education approved project number. All disbursement of the state of the federal funds must be responsible, necessary, allowable, legible operation of the program. Standard 8.5 by 11 computer printouts will accept the prior approval for the comptroller office. Completed forms with the required supporting documentation should be sent to the Bureau of the Comptroller, 914 Turlington Building, 325 West Virginia Street, Tallahassee, Florida 3390444. The Department of Education Bureau of the Comptroller. And any amendment to the adjustment of disbursement report of the previous submitted to the department must be submitted to the VS supplementable or adjustment. A correction shall be entered in column 8 of the non-reported disbursements will increase or reduce the amount of the reported in column C. The previous disbursement report. No, do not submit a report replacement of the report already received for the department. Project recipients shall be submitted to the final official for the reimbursement project for the date of the specified project award notification. State of the grant program is required that all advance funded and expended engine of the project period of the return of the Department of Education for the financial report. The financial report reimbursement should include the Department of Education approved the project number. The pre-reimbursement of the project reimbursement with the performance request shall be made with the applicable project reimbursement report. Detailed status salary expenditures of the Department of Education. Detail the monthly transaction. Department of Education 301 in accordance with the instruction for each of the form. The cost reimbursement situation does not exist until the funds have been disbursed according to the liability obligation and encumbrances does not constitute reimbursement situations. Legible copies of all invoice resets with the set forth details sufficient of the proper pre-audited and post-audited review should be submitted in the reimbursement package. Additional documentation, timesheets, and paycheck the bank statements may be required of the invoice of the entries and the details of Department of Education 300 and 301 shall correspond with the agency's account codes listed to the applicable project disbursement report of the approved budget. The requirement applies to the function projects unless specifically separate for the Department of Education comptroller or claims of the Department direct costs of the program unless they approve the indirect cost allocation plan of the Department Comptroller Office is the expenditure report to the corresponding documentation reviewed with the Comptroller Office forwarding to the program manager. The program manager approves the disbursement request in the Department of Education DFSA 02002 certifies the expenditure of the compliance deliverables and stated for the approval. Reimbursement of the package chest of the Department of Education 3099 project disbursement report should be reviewed prior to the submission to ensure that the agency name of the project name, approval, termination, total project dates are listed on the top of the form. The lines lines 8 to 8 corresponding with the information listed by the Department of Education 200, contacting the information organizational financial representative line J and including the interim report of the final report box marks description of the disbursement column of the three lists of every category corresponding with the project budget narrative budget amount column 4 totals equal to total project dollars. The total disbursement column 5 shows the sum of what already has been reported was being requested in the current package and or as of date. Disbursement balance of the column 6, disbursement of the budget amount column 4, and the total disbursement of the column 5. Non-disbursement column indicates the expenditures that are may be submitted reimbursed in the package. The total amount of the subline, sum of all of the lines equals the total of all equals of the Department of Education 300 and 301 in this package. Total of columns 5 and 6 each should equal the total of column 4 and total project dollars. Report the number indicates the invoice package is being submitted. Report and signed the financial officer's authorized representative. Original signed report is placed on the top of the package. The Department of Education details of salary expenditure that shall be received and verify only salaries. Federal insurance contribution acts and contributions are listed. The position are listed in the budget narrative for each of the employee. The percentages of the time incorrectly listed. The amount of the claim. The column is correctly totally supporting. The documentation should include the payroll registries. Check stub shows the gross pay and employer reported portion of the FIC contribution timesheets. Personal activity reports for all employees that are not 100% funded from this project. Copies of the paycheck checks payment same as Department of Education 301. The Department of the monthly transaction list of all the expenditures including the employee beneficiations of the FICA contribution to the account of the should correspond with the object code to the listed budget narrative of the prior to submitting the payment subgrantee should result in the accuracy of the name, the number of the dates, total amounts of the procedure, requested amount of the proportion of the being charged to the project, requested the amount of the column total. Supporting documentation should include the copy of the invoice receipts breakdowns. Requested amount was calculated if not 100% compliant with a copy of the contract agreement for the contractual services. Items related to field trips must include lesson plans, justifications for the trip, as well as attendance for the last of the attendance list from the trip. All travel-related expenses must have the Department of Education C676C travel form for the true traveler, signed for the traveler as supervisor, and in printed map of the computation mileage, such as official state road issued by the Department of the State, available through the websites. A copy of the agenda meetings, a copy of receipt, hotel rental cards, gas, tolls, etc. Copy of the paychecks and the copy of the paychecks, bank statements, the program reports. The program shall be submit all periodic final reports as required for the program manager. Specified with the project award notification, request for the proposal, request for the project application. All receipts will report the program manager on the progress of the outcomes of the project described in the approved project. The department will monitor the progress of the project and meeting performance expectation, completion deliverables using standard of the project performance of the accountability reporting requirements as provided by the requesting proposal, request for proposal, request for application submitted by the and within the applications, the department forms of the project performance accountability reporting, rating and project performance of the categories tasks, the specific activities required to perform to complete the project narratives, the scope of the work, deliverables, products and services directly related to the tasks specified in the scope of the work. Deliverables must be quantifiable, measurable, and variable. Due date of the completion of the task. Some projects required for the other independent, formal, and third-party evaluation. Other projects projects elect to object to the evaluation in the proposal application includes the required of the third-party evaluation department. The form the third-party evaluation include the request for proposal, request for application monitoring, and adopts the project awarded grants of the Florida Department of Education subrecipients was subject to the audits and monitoring in the department as follows. The monitoring in the addition of the reviews and conducted with accordance with the official budget of the budget of Circular A133 and Section 21597 Florida State law, Florida State statutes. The monitoring procedures may include, not limited to, on-the-site visits by the department staff, limited to scope audits defined by the Office of the Budget and Circular A133 of the other procedure federal regulations. 34 CFR 8040A requires that the department manages day-to-day operation grant, sub-grant supported activities as such as the department must monitor grant, sub-grant supported activities to ensure the compliance with the applicable federal requirements to ensure the performance goals are achieved. Entering in the agreement, the project rate of the recipient agreement agrees to comply with the cooperative with any monitoring. Procedure process deemed appropriate for the department. In the event of the determination limited the scope of the audit, the recipient appropriate the receipt of the agrees to comply with any additional instruction provided to the department of the staff recipient regarding such an audit. The recipient further agrees to comply with the cooperative with any inspection, reviews, and investigation audits and deems it necessary for the chief financial officer audited general. The audits federal funded is in the applicable receipt of the state of local government non-governmental organization as defined on the Office of the Budget Management Circular A133. The event of the receipt of the expense of $500,000 more than the federal awards in the official year, the recipient must have a single audit program specifically conducted with the accordance with the provision of the Office of the Management of the Budget of the A133 of applicable federal regulations. Audit shall conduct with the independent audited in accordance with the general accepted government auditing standards covering financial audits of the 34 CFR 8026 Office of Management and Budget A133 and Subpart B of state statutes blank 2200B. The determination of federal awards expended by the financial year, the recipients of considered all federal awards, including the Federal Resources Department, received in the department. The determination amounts of federal awards expended in accordance with the guidelines established on the Office of the Management Circular A133 audited recipient conducted by the Auditor General in accordance with the provision of the Office of Management and Circular A133 will meet the requirements in this part. In the connection with the audited requirements, the recipient shall also fulfill the requirements relative to the audited responsibilities and provided with the subpart C of the Office Management budget of the Circular A133. The recipient will expend the 500 federal award official years, and the audit conducted in accordance with provision Office of Management of Budget. Circular A133 is not required in the event of the recipient expends less than $500,000. The federal award official years elects the audit conducted in accordance with the provision of the Management Budget. Circular A133 cost of the audit must be paid in non-federal resources and in excess of the cost of such an audit must be paid for the recipient resources not obtained by the federal entities and audits and state and funded. The part applicable to the project recipient non-stated entity defined in Section 215.97.2 of the Florida State Statute. The event of the project recipient expends the total amount of the state financial assistance equal to or in excess of $500,000 in official year. The recipient must have the state single audited project specific audited official year. The accordance with Section 215.97 of the Florida State Statute applicable to the Department of Financial Services, Chapter 1050 local government entities, 106050 non-profitable profitable organization rules of auditor general department and determining financial assistance expended by the official year. The report recipients should consider all sources of the state financial assistance, including state financial assistance received the Department of Education, other state agencies, and or other state assistance. State financial assistance does not include federal Department of the direct pass-through awards or resources received non-state entity federal program matching requirements in connection with all requirements for above the project recipient, they ensure the comply with the requirements of the Section 215.97 of the 8 of the Florida State Statute, include the submission of the financial reporting packages defined in Section 215.97 of the Florida State Statute, Chapter 550 local government entities, 106650 nonprofit or for-profit organization rules of audit in general. If the project recipient expends less than $500,000 state official year, the audit conducted in accordance with the provision of 215.97 of the Florida State Statute is not required in the event of the recipient expends less than $500,000 in the state assistance for the financial year, official year, and elects to have an audit conducted in accordance with the provision 21597 of the Florida State Statute. Cost of the audit must be paid by the non-state entity. Resources cost of such an audit must be paid by the project recipient. Resources objection for the non-entity. So pursuant to the section 21597 of the Florida State Statute, agencies must conduct an arrange an audit for the state financial assistance for the additional audits and conducted within accordance with the section 21597 Florida State Statutes. In such an event that the state awards, the agency must arrange the funding of the full cost of such an audit. Additional audits. The report of the to be submitted to the reporting the request audit conducted in accordance with the Office of Management Budget Circuit A133 shall be submitted with the required Office Budget A313 submitted by the C Part blanks 3.320D on behalf of the recipient directly to the following: the Florida Department of Education Bureau, the Contract and Grants Procurement of the Management System, 344 Turling Building and 325 West Gainey Street, the Tallahassee, Florida 3990400. The Department of Education Program Office of the address stated on the project award notification. The Federal Auditing Clearinghouse designated an Office Management Circular A133. The number of the copies required for the Office Management Budget Circular of the A133 Subpart C blank 320D should be submitted to the Federal Auditing Clearinghouse in the following address: the Federal Auditing Clearinghouse Bureau of Census 1201 East 10th Street, Jefferson, Indiana 47132. Section C. Other federal agencies pass through the entities in accordance with the Office Management Budget Circular 133, Subpart C 320. If the event of the copy reporting the package audited required in the conductions according to the Office Management Budget A133 is not required to be submitted to the Department of Education pursuant to the Office Management Budget Circular A133, Subpart C blank 320E1, the recipient should be required of the written notification of pursuant to the Office Management Budget A133, Subpart C 320E, and a copy of the all recipient audited schedule of expenditure to the Federal Audit awards directly to the funding in the state awarding entity pursuant to the Office Management Budget Circular A133C and blank 320 request a copy of the reporting package described in the Office Management Budget Circular A133 Subpart C320, and if in the request for the copy of the agent any management letters issued by the auditor, state awarding agency should replace any of the language of the following pursuant to the Office Management Budget A133 Subpart C blank 3020F. The recipient should submit the reporting package described in the Office Management Budget A133 Subpart C blanks 320C. The management letter is issued to audit the Department of Education in each of the following: the Florida Department of Education Bureau of the Contracts and Grants and Procurement Management Services, 344 Turling Building 325 West Gainey Street, Tallahassee, Florida 330-999-0400. The Department of Education Program Offices. They address the state of the project of the award notification, copy the financial projects, and submitted on the behalf of the recipient directly of each of the following: the Florida Department of Education Bureau of the Contracts and Grants of the Project Management Services, 344 Turlington Building 325 West Gainey Street, Tallahassee, Florida 399-0400. The Florida Department of Education Program Office's address is the project awarding notification Auditor General of the 401 Pepper Building 111 West Madison Street, Tallahassee, Florida 339-140-1450. The copy reports management letters are submitted on the behalf of the recipient directly on the Department of Education of the following addresses: Florida Department of Education Bureau of the Contracts and Procurement of the Management Services, 344 Turlington Building and 325 West Gainey Street, the Tallahassee, Florida 399-0400. The Florida Department of Education of the Program Office is the address the state of the project awarding notification. Any of the reports of the management letter or other information required to support the Department of Education pursuant to the agreement should be submitted at the time accordance to the Office of Management Budget Circular A, the Florida State Statutes, Chapter 10550, the Local Government Entities, Chapter 10650, nonprofit and non-for-profit organization rules of auditor as applicable. Recipient submitting financial reporting project of the Florida Department of Education audited and completed in accordance with the Office of Management of the Budget Circular A133, Chapter 10550, Local Government Entities, 10650, non-government non-profit or for-profit organization rules for the Auditor General shall indicate the date of the reporting project package for delivery of the receipt of the corresponding accompanying reporting package audited reports.